What's up, everybody? Hello and welcome to Not Your Average Meta, an MTG Commander channel dedicated to bringing you decks and commanders you wouldn't normally find in your average meta. This week's video is brought to you by our new channel sponsor, International MTG. If you're looking for competitive pricing on your favorite MTG cards, old and new, be sure to check out the International MTG store and TCG Player, link in the description of this video. This week on Not Your Average Meta, we have a fun matchup featuring multiple new decks making their first appearances on the channel. We'd also like to officially welcome our second full-time channel sponsor for Season 3, the Hobby Horse in Taylorville, Illinois. If you're ever in the central Illinois area, be sure to stop in and check out the store as well as saying hi to Martin. In this week's game, we have a fun commander matchup featuring Gavin playing the colorless commander Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, Foil playing the mono-white powerhouse Light-Paws, Emperor's Voice, Fograw playing the Golgari partner pairing of Skanos Dragonheart with the background Criminal Past, and Justin playing the new fan favorite Captain Nagathrod. Now that we have our fighters, let's step into the Thunderdome and see which deck will come out on top. Turn 1, Fog plays a Swamp. Justin plays a Swamp of his own. Gavin plays Mirror the Moaning Well. Foil plays a Plains for turn and passes. Fog plays a Force for turn, then pays 2 for an Arcane Signet. Justin plays an Island and passes. Gavin plays a Blinkmoth Wall for turn, then pays 2 for a Mazemind Tome. He then uses the Tome to scry 1 while adding a counter to the Tome. Foil plays a second Plains and pays 2 for a Core Spirit Dancer. Fog plays a second Swamp, then pays 3 to cast his background, Criminal Past. Justin plays another Island and passes. Gavin plays an Inventor's Fair before paying 3 for a Coalition Relic. Foil plays a third Plains for turn before casting Thalia, Heretic Cathar. Fog plays a second Force for turn before tapping out to cast Avenging Hunter. He then takes the initiative, going into the first part of his dungeon, gaining 1 life. Justin plays an Eye for turn, while Gavin uses his Tome to scry again, adding another counter to the Tome. He then pays 3 to cast a Fractured Sanity, milling each of his opponents for 14 cards. On his end step, Gavin taps his Relic to add a counter to it. Gavin plays a Blasted Landscape for turn before paying 3 for a Semblance Anvil and printing a pair of Swiftfoot Boots. Foil draws and pays 2 to cast his commander Light-Paws. He then pays to enchant his Spirit Dancer with a Glaring Aegis, drawing a card, triggering his commander. He then goes to find an Aura from his library while Gavin adds a counter to his Relic while also adding a counter to his Tome, scrying another card. Foil then attaches the Hyena Umbra to his commander before swinging his Spirit Dancer and Thalia at Fog in order to take the initiative. He then enters the first part of the dungeon, gaining 1 life. Fog plays another Force for turn before paying 4 for an Ambitious Dragonborn who enters play with 9+1/+ encounters. He then casts Stitch Together with Threshold, returning a Steel Hellkite back to play from his graveyard. Justin plays a Command Tower for turn and passes. Gavin plays a free Voltaic Key, then pays another 2 to cast a KCI. He then pays 2 to put the last counter on his Tome, drawing a card, before sacking it in order to gain 4 life. Gavin then uses his Relic counters to cast a Sad Robot, going to get a land when he enters play. On his upkeep, Foil goes into the second part of his dungeon, scrying 1 to the bottom of his library. He then plays another Plains for turn before tapping out to enchant his Spirit Dancer with an Angelic Destiny. In response, Justin casts a Curtain's Call in order to destroy both of Foil's creatures. Foil then retaliates by swinging out at Justin for 5 damage. Fog plays another Force for turn that pays to cast Reduced Cost Earthquake Dragon. He then pays 5 to cast his commander Skanos before going to combat. Fog then swings his Hunter at Gavin, his Hellkite at Justin, and his Dragonborn at Foil. Gavin then blocks with his Solemn before sacrificing it to KCI in order to create 2 colorless mana to untap his Relic with his key. Everybody then takes their damage and Fog regains the initiative, scrying 1 to the top of his library. Justin plays a Field of Ruin for turn before paying 3 to cast a Dro's Harvester. Gavin floats the mana off his Relic before sacking it and his key to the KCI in order to cast his commander Kozilek, which then gets countered by Justin with a Thought Collapse. Gavin then draws his 4 cards before decides to put his commander in his graveyard, shuffling his graveyard back into his library. He then mills his 3 cards before playing a land for turn. Gavin then casts a pair of Lightning Greaves and a Torpor Orb before sacking them both to KCI in order to cast a Metalworker and Rings of Bright Earth. Foil plays Evolving Wilds for turn, sacking it to go get another Plains. He then pays 4 for Laguna Band Storyteller, putting an enchantment back on top of his library from his graveyard. On his upkeep, Fog goes into the next level of his dungeon, targeting Foil's commander. He then draws and goes to combat, swinging his commander at Gavin for 17 commander damage, while he swings his Hellkite and Dragonborn at Justin and his Earthquake Dragon and Hunter at Foil for 14 damage apiece. Foil then declares blocks, and in response, Fog casts Entropic Cloud to give his creatures Death Touch. Foil's creatures then die and everyone takes their damage. In his second main, Fog casts Persist, returns Black Dragon to play, which he uses to take out Light-Paws. He then pays 3 to activate his Hellkite to take out Justin's Harvester and passes. Justin plays a Nephalia Drownyard for turn before paying 5 to cast Extract from Darkness. Each player then mills the top 2 cards of the library into their graveyard, and Justin returns Foil's Thalia to play under his control. Gavin draws and uses his Metalworker to reveal 2 artifacts from his hand, creating 4 colorless mana. He then taps out and sacks his rings to KCI in order to recast his commander, drawing 4 cards. Gavin then recasts his Voltaic Key before sacking another artifact to KCI in order to use his key to untap his Metalworker. He then uses the Metalworker again, revealing 5 more artifacts, creating 10 more colorless mana. Gavin then uses this mana to cast Mycosynth Lattice and Clock of Omens. He then taps 2 artifacts to untap his Metalworker before tapping it again, revealing 3 artifacts from his hand. He then uses this mana to recast his Solemn, cast a Forsaken Monument, and then cast a Mind's Eye. Gavin then gets a land from his library before sacking his Solemn to draw a card and cast an Oblivion Stone. Foil plays a Plains for turn, then pays 4 to recast his commander a second time. On his upkeep, Fog goes into the next part of his dungeon, scrying 2 cards. He then keeps 1 on top and bottoms the other. He then pays 2 to cast a Primal Rage before heading to combat. Fog then swings his Earthquake Dragon and Black Dragon at Foil, his Dragonborn and Hellkite at Justin, and his commander at Gavin. Justin and Foil both take their damage, while Gavin gets taken out with commander damage. On his instep, Foil flashes in Benevolent Blessing, choosing black. He then goes to get an ore from his library while Justin draws for turn. Justin then pays 5 to cast his commander, Captain Nagathrod, while Foil enchants his commander with the Spirit Mantle. Foil draws for turn, then casts an Armored Ascension, targeting his commander. After thinking for a minute about what Foil could get from his deck to enchant his commander, Justin decides to counter it with a negate. Foil then goes to combat swinging his commander at Fog in order to get the initiative back. He then goes into the next part of his dungeon, which he uses to target Fog's Earthquake Dragon. Fog plays another Swamp for turn, then pays 7 for an Ancient Bronze Dragon. He then goes to combat and swings his Dragonborn, Hellkite, and Black Dragon at Justin while he swings his commander at Foil. Foil then casts Swords to Plowshares on Skanos, which has Fog gaining 17 life, while Justin gets taken out of the game. On his upkeep, Foil scries 2, keeping both on top before drawing for turn. He then casts Indestructibility, targeting his commander, which allows him to go get a Pariah from his library and changing his commander. Foil then swings his commander at Fog for 3 damage and passes. Fog doesn't draw into any of his enchantment removal, and knowing the end is near, he scoops the game up to Foil. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can see more games and decks you wouldn't normally see in your average meta.